welcome to episode 52 of the Travel Talk Show, a podcast of the award-winning ehCanadaTravel.com website and ehCanada Marketing Group. The Travel Talk Show is beamed down to us live from our Cobro satellite every Tuesday at 7 p.m. from our base camp somewhere here in beautiful Maple Leaf, Canada. Tonight, Colin, our special guest is Jed Brown of Low Season Traveler, beaming in from across the pond in the United Kingdom.
Be great to have Jed on. Can't wait to see him again.
Yeah,
Glad we had a little bit of a difficulty last week, but bring him on.
Yes, and the technical department fixed the Cobro satellite and we're good to go. Jed is the strategist, innovator, and visionary for responsible tourism management and sustainability. And he's a pretty good all-around he's a good guy. He's a good guy, eh, Col?
Yeah, I like Jed. He's really fun to talk to, and from what we've seen, definitely been a good guy.
Yeah. So Jed is best known for his role and founder and CEO of the Low Season Traveler, which is, and this is cool, the world's first organization completely dedicated to the promotion of travel during the off-peak seasons as a way to alleviate the growing problem of over-tourism. So here's how I see it, Junior. Jed is a professor of Low Season Traveler, majoring in seasonology.
I believe that would be the Canadian word of the week.
Yes. What do you think?
Seasonology.
Yep.
I like it. I think it's good. I think it fits perfectly.
Exactly. So that would mean Professor Low Season Jed Brown will be joining us in 10 minutes. And I must say, Colin, he is looking rather dapper tonight in his selected headwear.
Well, I can't wait to see it then. You got my interest perked.
It's pretty decent stuff, but we'll see here.
Right on.
My name is Greg Gerard, this dashing young man.
Colin Gerard.
Colin Gerard. He's the keeper of the code. He's the brother, the partner, and we are best friends, believe it or not. And we are brothers and best friends, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Together, we are the brothers of tourism. For you newbies to the show, if you've been living in a cave and you haven't heard the news about this awesome, funny, good-natured, and talking about very serious topics show, here's the rundown of what we're all about. A bit of Canadian maple syrup sweetness thrown in, let's say. We are the Cobro owners of ehCanada Travel, the award-winning largest content-driven travel website. It is made 100% with Canadian ingredients, no corporate additives. Pretty good quality. Made with 100%. Yes. Voted Best Canadian Adventure Vacation Planner by Lux Life International Tourism Awards in 2021. We also operate an award-winning blog called, and I love this, Two Brothers, 2 Feet, Too Curious, Too Canadian. And this January, we were ranked 23rd in the top 1,000 global travelers by Global Rise. But it doesn't stop there, Junior.
Keep them coming. More awards.
We created and developed the Experience Community Program. It is the first tourism and economic development platform and training system designed for small and rural Canadian communities. In March of this year, that would be about a month ago, we won, along with Tourism Nickel Valley, Canadian Prestige Award for the best marketing program of the year. And in the same month, we won the 2021 Economic Development Association Award for the best community project award under 20,000 population. Yes, March 2021, Junior, was good to us.
The best ever for awards, for sure.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. They're going to keep coming too. We've just begun.
Yes, it is. We have just begun. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a live show, if you haven't noticed. So stuff happens. If you lose us or our guest, do not panic. Do not take that seatbelt off. Just sit back, relax, grab some munchies, and we'll be right back. Do not change the channel, please. We will be right back. If our guest goes, they'll be back. If we go, they'll be back. Okay? So if it does happen, we do have the head of the technical department here who is experienced at fixing the Cobro satellite.
Where?
You.
Oh, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe someone, oh yeah, well that's me. Thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get right on that, and we'll
Are
have a
you
fixed
you
for
are
you.
you are the head of the technical department.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I
I just
thought.
didn't know if we were talking about somebody else because I'm not really there.
Hmm.
I'm
Yes.
here, but I'm not really
Mhm.
there.
Gotcha.
Very confusing.
Tonight we talk with low season travel, a little bit about low season travel, some pandemic recovery, technology, tourism associations, and over tourism with Mr. Low Season, Jed Brown himself. Jed is also quoted as saying why it is a good time to be small in the tourism industry. And we're going to talk about that tonight. Jed Brown is the founder and the CEO of Low Season Traveler. Jed is a public speaker, strategist, and writer for publications. Jed has spent, Colin, his entire
Yeah.
career working at senior director level with leading travel and program organizations such as Thomas Cook, My Travel Forward, Keys Travel Weekly, and Avia Deb. Jed is on the management board, and also a founding partner of the World Tourism Association of Culture and Heritage. Isn't that cool, Col?
That is one pretty sweet resume.
Woo-wee!
That's
Back by
awesome.
popular demand too, Call, because this is his second appearance on the A Travel Talk Show, and this time he's coming to us from United Kingdom as Professor Low Season, majoring in Seasonology. Welcome to the show there, Mr. Jed Brown of Low Season Traveler. Are we ever glad to have you back on? I believe this is your second appearance because you're such a popular UK Brit in our world, and we had to bring you right back.
It's a great pleasure to be here. And yeah, it is my second time. It is my honor to have my second time here. And I hope I can do it proud as we carry on with the chat. But great to talk to you as always. Good.
It's always good to connect with you, Jed, and really excited to have you on the show tonight. Also really excited to hear some of your answers to some of these questions because we're going to hit some pretty serious topics tonight.
For sure. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to getting into it because last time we spoke was, it must have been coming up for a year ago. And, a lot has changed. And also, by the way, some stuff hasn't changed. So it'll be kind of interesting just to sort of have a little bit of a gauge as to where we're up to. And hopefully in the conversation, I can tell you a little bit more about what's going on the UK and Europe side of things. I know that you've got your own challenges in Canada at the moment, but hopefully by exchanging ideas, and that's what this is all about, exchanging ideas and opinions so we can get a full global perspective on this thing. I think exactly. I think it should be good. I
will say one thing. Your attire has been stepped up for this show.
My attire?
Yeah. You look very good. Yeah. You look absolute the best I've ever seen you in all our conversations. You are one handsome guy.
It must be the hat. It must be the hat. You know what it is? Do you know what it is? Since the last show, we all do a million of Zooms and these kind of broadcasts and everything else, and every time, genuinely, and my daughters would testify to this, I actually go and change and I put a smart shirt on, and I believe, I could be wrong, last time I had a smart shirt on. And for this show, and you've got to take this as a compliment for you and for your listeners, I feel so comfortable, and I really do, that it's nice. I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to wear my hoodie that I wear in my free time when I'm out and about and I'm comfortable, and when I'm working during the day. Usually I'll take this off, put a shirt on when I'm doing a Zoom call. Actually, the respect I have for you, Gug, and for all of the Canadians there is I feel completely at home. So I am wearing what I have been wearing all day, quite frankly. And I'm quite comfortable and happy with it. So thank you very much for that.
No, and I will take that as a compliment because when we were designing this show and putting our concept together, that's one thing we made very clear is we want to have real people dressed in real stuff and being who they are on screen. No costumes, no corporate spins, no nothing. So that is the best compliment you could give us. And to our viewers and to Canadians in general, and to, of course, Colin. So again, I thank you for that. But Jed, I think what we need to do, because I think we've become very good friends over time, and yet we haven't met in person, and I'm really excited about that day. But for our viewers, because since we've last talked, we've had increased our viewership, and we're getting a little bit more traction. So there's some out there that have been in a cave and don't know the Jed Brown, and I'm very curious on knowing why they haven't found you yet. So we got to clear up this in the air here. Maybe you can give us a little background of who is this wonderful man we call Jed Brown, and your very innovative venture called Low Season Traveler.
Well, thank you very much for that. So, yeah, for those that don't know me, my name is Jed Brown. I started out in the travel industry as a high street travel agent, probably about 30 odd years ago now. So straight out of college, I was selling holidays over the counter in the high street travel agent, Thomas Cook, if anybody's familiar with it. I know they used to be in Canada as well.
Yep.
Worked my way up, worked for companies like Curoni, which is a Swiss long-haul focused tour operator still in existence. Worked at TUI on a part of the executive management team there. And then I worked on air service development, so working on the aviation side of things. So, helping airlines and airports to get new routes put in place. Did that for over 10 years. And key on that is I was actually instrumental in being the first to bring tourism into that. Would you believe?
Wow.
When they were deciding, I don't know, we've never talked about this. When we used to decide about new air services, it was always a conversation between airports and airlines. And tourism authorities were never involved. So when I started to work for this company, which organizes the largest events where these guys have these meetings, the airlines and the airports, I was just horrified that there was no tourism authorities there at all. And I was thinking, the biggest stakeholders in all of this actually is tourism businesses, the destination itself and tourism. So I kind of worked really hard with tourism authorities, ministries of tourism, all of that kind of stuff, to try and bring those guys in to sort of suggest to them that maybe they might want to try and speak to the airlines to get the airlines to fly to their destination. It could be a good idea, because would you believe that they hadn't really thought of that in the past? So I did that for about 10 years, worked on a number of other projects as well in big data for tourism, of course, and I still work quite a bit with big data. And then it was about 3 years ago, we were noticing that there was an awful lot more over-tourism in the world, which again sounds a little bit crazy today when we're at practically zero tourism. But that really concerned me massively. I'm at a stage in life where I've got 2 young daughters. I've traveled the world pretty extensively, and I'm very blessed to have done so. And I've got an appreciation for different cultures and countries. And with over-tourism, and a lot of people were talking about increasing the prices for tourism. And that would mean that people like my daughters, who are from a very, very average working class background in the UK, they might not be able to afford to travel. And that to me is, there's something wrong with that. And I think that every generation and every future generation does or should have the opportunity to travel so that we can understand different cultures and increase global peace and harmony as well as cultural understanding. So I started to have a look at over-tourism, and it just hit me one day. And it was one of those genuine, it was like a eureka moment. When you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, I have just had the mother of all ideas. And let me speak to a few people and find out, am I absolutely nuts? But nobody had ever actually looked at everyone. We spliced and diced the tourism industry so many different ways, and nobody ever looked at the low seasons, which obviously is where we all have the problem. Your viewers, that's where they've got big problems, is in the low seasons. Shit, how do we get people here? And I was thinking, if ever the conditions were right to promote tourism just during the low season, away from the crowds, away from all of that nonsense. Not a bad time to visit, just a different time to visit. And I've traveled, extensively during the low season months, and it's a wonderful experience, but we don't shout about it enough. So I just figured, okay, let's set up a company that only promotes the low season months in each destination. They don't even touch the peak stuff. Shoulder, maybe. We'll do a little bit of shoulder stuff. But actually, it's the low season stuff is what we're interested in. And we'll direct it at people who really want to do something different. They want a unique experience like not many other people have, because, tourism has a lot of snobbery to it. We like to go where other people haven't been and stuff like that. Well, I'm sort of saying, well, look, how about going at times of the year when other people haven't been there? And talk about your adventures then. And we'll try and stimulate demand. It's a marketing exercise, promoting travel in the low seasons. So set up the company, and that's what we do. We work with hotels, tour companies, tourism authorities, you name it. And we promote the low season months in each destination by educating I guess educating clients, educating the industry, educating everybody as to why those low seasons are a great time to consider traveling. And we've got a podcast and we've got YouTube and all that kind of fun stuff, but I won't dwell too much on that. It's just a wonderful, wonderful adventure, actually, apart from anything else.
Exactly. And just for our viewers out there, we put up Jed's website address online.
Thank you very much.
By all means, you can check it out. And he does have a very popular podcast, and there's a lot there about low season traveler. And we need to get together, Jed, to talk about our Canada low season soon.
We definitely do. We definitely do. Yeah, I've got to apologise right now to all of your viewers and your audience as well. We haven't got Canada on there, and we've spoken about this before, Gug, and I am really keen to get Canada on there. I'm very passionate about Canada, actually. Actually, we don't have a huge amount from North America. We're looking at doing a little bit more. We've got a great I got a great connection recently in Denver, actually, and we're going to do some sort of cool stuff there in the US. But with yourself, we'll get Canada on there very soon, and we'll do some cool stuff as well. Actually, I think there's a lot of cool stuff to be done.
Yeah, I think, and that's where the innovation comes in.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So, Jed, in Canada, we got the small towns is our sort of niche that we like to work with, trying to help them develop tourism so they can get some GDP, or else help manage it in some sort. They make up a majority of our business here in Canada. So, yeah. Here's sort of the issue: is a very high proportion of the international tourists visit the urban areas. So that's where our urbans, our Torontos, our Winnipegs, our Halifax, our Montreals, our Quebecs, they rely all the international, because of the way we brand ourselves. That's what all our international tourism are coming in through those doorways, right? And most of the rural tourism destinations are visited by a high proportion of Canadians. So that's where we're doing. So we as Canadians, we're heading to the bush, we're heading to small town Canada, we're heading to rural, we're going kayaking, we're doing all the good stuff. International tourism's come in and they don't leave Toronto, Winnipeg, Halifax, Vancouver. So many wanting to get out and visit these areas. So my question is this, basically, is how do we drive tourism to smaller, more rural places when our whole branding efforts are to come through the major urban areas? How do we do that?
First of all, I would say it's not unique to Canada. That's the same in the UK. In the UK, since lockdown, since we haven't been able to travel, we're traveling to all of these, quirky little places that international tourists don't usually go to. The international tourists, they go to London, they go to Edinburgh, they go to York. They do the same stuff every time, and actually, those are the places we'd probably avoid. So I'm guessing that's very much the same as Canada. I think a lot of the solution on this is, we need to bring the destinations to the end users. So to the international market, we need to bring our small town destinations to them and educate them. It's actually very similar to what we're trying to do with Low Season Traveler. It's about bringing it to them, and that's with regards to our content, our stories, all of that. And it really it's linked I guess to what you guys are doing at ehCanadaTravel. It's about finding out where these people consume their content when they're looking at making decisions for travel. And if they are the kind of people that, like to listen to stuff, if they consume their content by listening. So I do. So when I'm driving the car, I listen to podcasts. So I'm very much, I like to listen. When I'm going for a jog, I listen to podcasts. So that's a great medium for me. So podcasts, you got to be there. Other people like reading articles. So you've got to be producing articles so that those are the people that like to find that content and learn about your destination there can read those articles. Some people, they like to look at the tube, and by the tube I mean YouTube. They like to look at programs, see what's going on in reality in that destination. So again, because of YouTube, because of Facebook Live and YouTube Live, we can bring the destination to them like never before. So I think those are the kind of things that we need to do more of. And like I say, very similar to what I'm trying to do at Low Season Traveler, actually. The whole objective that we wanted to do, only for the fact that we really launched in lockdown, which is scupping it. we wanted to go to these destinations during the low season months, the lowest of the low, and say, well, here I am. I'm Jed Brown from Low Season Traveler, and here I am in wherever, and this is what it's like. And by the way, it's freaking awesome. And now we're going to go to this restaurant here and now meet the head chef and bring it to them, bring it into their living room so that they can sort of know that actually this is a wonderful experience. But it's about educating them. And, you know, we're fortunate in a way that we have all of these tools at our disposal, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's a very valid point, and that's one of the messages we spout out on our side of the pond is it's time you do it because of the way that technology is advanced and the way that the tourism marketing messaging has advanced. There is opportunity now to start taking responsibility for your own marketing, taking responsibility for your own messaging, the tools are there now. It's not like 10 years ago where we had to go through our one source, which is, in our case, the government associations. Now the tools are there and they come out. There's a new tool launching every 3 months nowadays with of different ways to market yourself. So I think that's bang on. I think that's a messaging where we have access to the traveler now. We never used to.
No, and you know what? Like you say on the tools, we've got as small time players. We've got all the tools that the big guys have got. I mean, It's just a wonderful, wonderful time to be small. It is, though. It's never been a better time to be small because we've got it all. Like you say, 10, 15 years ago, if I wanted to go out to the audience and do some kind of campaign, you know, pre-social media, pre all of that, you know, you'd have to try and get on a proper TV show or create your own proper TV show on a network. I mean, or a radio show. It just wouldn't happen. Now, I can set up a podcast in minutes. If I wanted to set up a brand new podcast tomorrow, I could have that done and the first episode out by tomorrow. I mean, that's messed up. What a wonderful time to be a small business, because every tool, and not only that, we've got the tools at our disposal as small guys that the big guys have got. Actually, you know, in many cases, we're using them better than the big guys are. You know, it's tremendous. So, yeah. It's a great time for us right now, actually.
Yeah, and another thing about that I really enjoy is that I noticed this with all the independents out there that I've had the pleasure of talking to. What I really get a kick out is how they're so quickly easy to take a corner, go down a different road, pivot here, go this way, and implement quickly. Like you said, one day you could have a new podcast. When you're looking at the governing bodies, it's such a sluggish turn. It's like a slow, winding turn. It takes forever for things to happen. That's advantage to the privates.
It is actually, and it's. I think, you know, we see it again over here in the public sector as well. To get anything done, there's so much red tape, bureaucracy, and anybody. Look, a lot of your viewers, they'll have worked for companies like this, and I have. You know, even just big global companies, let alone the public sector. It's so utterly frustrating when you can see what's going on and you can see the solution that needs to be put into place, and they're saying, okay, let me run it to the board. And then they're going to run it to another board, and they're going to run it there. And by the time it gets back to you 2 months later, you know, I had this exact scenario a few times in my career. And I said, you know what, guys, we've already missed the boat. There's another crowd that have already set up and started doing it. The time to do it was 2 months ago when I mentioned it to you. But honestly, you know, you've just been messing around and you wanted a risk analysis report done. And then that risk analysis report had to go to the board. And then they asked for amendments to the report. And it's like, Jesus, what are you doing, guys? This is insane.
Yeah. Not to the fact that each one of these 7 reports that they get cost $100,000 or $250,000 to produce. And then it sits on the table, and then they do another report 6 months later, another $250,000, another $500,000 report. Imagine what you could do with this type of money to help the tourism industry.
Oh my God, you could just do so much with those kind of figures. And that's what's interesting, isn't it? You know, as relatively small players, you know, we are doing so much incredible marketing on microscopic budgets. But I remember actually one of my sort of earlier mentors at Thomas Cook, of all places, years ago, just said, you know what, if ever you end up in a situation where you have a marketing team or a marketing budget or anything else, if you literally cut the budget in half, watch how creative people get, because you're forcing the creativity. Once you don't have money to throw at it, you have to start thinking of all kinds of crazy off-the-wall stuff. And if you've got the courage and the guts to actually embrace that, you're going to do really, really well. But it's the easiest thing in the world if you've got the cash is just throw cash at it. But you're not going to get the creativity, and that's what again at the moment, because our budgets are so forced, we're all getting super creative, which it's an exciting time. It's really exciting.
It is really exciting. Watching everybody and all their initiatives and all their new project plans that are coming out. I find it absolutely exhilarating, and I think I'm here in the background, and I'm like a big cheerleader. I'm rawing. I'm cheering when I see this stuff. I'm going, good for you. Way to go, buddy. It's super exciting. So experts say that too many tourists could damage fragile environments or landmarks, or scare the wildlife, push up local rents, crowd narrow roads, increase littering, creates air pollution, overconsumption of water supply. A lot of this about too many over tourism, sort of disrespecting locals. The list goes on and on and on. There's many articles online to see what the effects are, and the negative environmental impacts and that sort of thing. So is over tourism, is it solved now that the pandemic are we done? Is that the last we're going to see of it? Are we good to go now? Are we going to be sustainable and responsible?
Do you know what? Genuinely, that's what I thought last year. When the pandemic hit, I was just thinking, great, I've just launched this big solution to over-tourism, and tourism's just gone to zero. And I was thinking, well, that's unfortunate. But then, you start to think through it, and over-tourism, I've spoken to Chris about this a few times, even in the early days when we were initially talking about over-tourism pre-pandemic. And we were both saying, over-tourism is the wrong expression. It is the wrong expression. It's a user-friendly one, and the media adopted it and everything else. And we all know what we mean by over-tourism, all of that stuff that you talked about. But actually, over-tourism is the wrong word. And the reason it's the wrong word is because, to be over or under anything, you need a point of reference. If you're overweight, the point of reference is that medical science tells you that for your age, height, lifestyle, etc., the weight range should be here. And if you're over that range, then you're over that prescribed, or under, by the way, as well. There's no point of reference for tourism, because tourism authorities, tourism destinations, on a very high level, they don't know what the optimum number is. I used to go and speak to ministers of tourism and CEOs of tourism authorities, nationals as well as regionals. And I'd say, so, what's the optimum number of tourists that your destination can take at any given time? And they'd be like, well, we've got this many hotel beds or this many, rooms. And I was like, well, that's not my question. No.
Yeah.
How many tourists can your destination take comfortably before it starts to negatively impact the local community? They had no idea. No idea. So then, there is a need, and Chris and the guys at the World Tourism Association for Culture and Heritage, they're doing a big push on this to try and get what they call carrying capacities. So, for destinations to understand, how many really, what is your capacity for your destination? So over tourism is the wrong word. Is it solved? No, it's not, unfortunately, because what we're seeing now is, in the UK, we're seeing it, and if you're not seeing it yet, you might start to see it. We're starting to see over-tourism of a different kind. So I think in the past, in Europe, we saw Venice was getting absolutely hammered. Dubrovnik, over-tourism. Iceland, over-tourism. And it was international. In the UK now, we're seeing Cornwall. So Cornwall in the southwest of the UK they call it the English Riviera. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Lovely weather in the summer. One of the few places in the UK that actually has beautiful weather in the summer. Yeah. Last summer, everybody, because they couldn't travel internationally, everybody thronged to Cornwall, and it had massive negative impacts on the local population, on the community, on waste disposal, on the roads, you name it. It was utterly horrendous. Over tourism, there's too much. We don't know what the right number is, but that's certainly too much. So I think that there's a risk of that happening domestically for small tourism. As well, I think, we need to start thinking like theme parks, as our destinations, generally speaking, think like a theme park. If I go to the head of Disneyland and I say, what's your optimum capacity for tourists? They'll know it to the very number, Gug, to the very number they'll know. And they'll know at what number it goes over before it's a negative impact on both the tourists as well as the theme park generally. They will know the exact number. We need to start figuring this stuff out. we need to treat our destinations like a theme park. I know that sounds awful, by the way, but you know what I mean. I'm not saying we need to treat, Halifax like it's bloody Disneyland, but I mean the queue management. Again, once you're in the theme park, they're brilliant at directing you to different rides and areas. They'll have waiting times here, and they know that you're going to see that waiting time and figure, you know what, I'm going to go there. So they're doing this in some destinations, like in Brussels they do it, in Rotterdam they do it, in Amsterdam they've started to do it, where they have apps which show you where tourists are at any given time, so you can go to less frequented areas. But it's about managing our tourism an awful lot better, and I think we need to get better on that. Is over-tourism over? No. Do you know why it's not over? Because, and I guess you know this, and all of your audience know this, is officially travel demand is zero. The desire for travel right now has probably never been higher in the whole history of global tourism than it is right now. So again, if you use the theme park analogy, the queue outside the theme park might be closed, but the queue outside is the longest it's ever been. There is going to be the mother of all surges at the end of all of this, and that's what we need to really, really be careful of. It's coming. It's coming, and I know times are hard now, and revenues are hard, and there's no tourism and everything else. It's coming, and it's going to come like a bloody tsunami, actually, and we need to be ready for that, and we need to be able to be ready for it, but also do it in a responsible way. And that's why now, during this downtime, get your systems in place. Get everything ready for the rush, because the rush absolutely is going to come. And what you want to be is one of the ones who is responsible, sustainable practices, sustainability policy on your website, all of that stuff that takes time and it takes effort to get your sustainability policy on your website. Well, do you know what? You haven't got any tourists right now, so do it. Get it done now. You've got the downtime. Make the most out of that. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant advice. And not only that is also the point of that. This is sort of where everything's starting to trend now. There's a bigger population base now that are looking at sustainable travel, that are looking at responsible travel. There's a bigger chunk of us out there that are saying, you know what? Yeah, this makes sense now, because climate change, all this other stuff is starting to affect the way that we look at things now. We're less of a disposable society. We're becoming more of a recycle society. So I think with this sort of trend that's coming out there in that sort of respect, I think that might also be a factor that I think we have to consider. That it's just there's a whole different way of looking, and I think it's a great opportunity. Maybe even, and what do you think? Maybe this is a good opportunity for businesses to start grabbing onto that market by appealing. For one, those guests are the most responsible guests. They're not going to trash your place. They're not going to litter your place. They're not going to damage your place. They're not the best guests in the world.
That is absolutely true, and I think as well, back to your point as well, when you were sort of talking about what can rural destinations do to get attract tourists away from the bigger places. Again, the new future, apart from people being more responsible and considerate and all of that kind of stuff, and they are going to be looking for those experiences. They are also naturally they are going to want to get away from the crowds. They're going to want to get away, and actually that again, great for low season traveler, by the way, but also great for small rural Canada. What a great opportunity. You can go with the masses in Montreal or Vancouver, sure, or you can come out to the wilderness and meet the real Canada and see the real Canada and the real people. And we've got time to speak to you. They're not, your average Canadian, no disrespect, in Montreal or Vancouver, they're not going to have a chance to speak to you on the street, and they probably won't. But if you get out into rural Canada, you're probably going to make friends. And that's what we've got to sell. That's what we've got to get across. Because honestly, that's what we're all going to want at the end of this. We're definitely going to be wanting that and get away from those crowds.
Yeah, and the connection factor, right? Everyone's looking at connecting again. We've been isolated for so long. So
yeah, I can't wait to just go to a destination, go somewhere in rural Canada, in the middle of nowhere, and just go into a local bar and start making friends with a few people.
I'm so excited.
Me too, mate. I tell you genuinely, as soon as travel opens up, I'm over there. So any of your audience and yourself as well, if you can put me up on your sofa or anything, genuinely, I'll be over to do a whole load of programs.
You get over on the western half, and we'll look after you for sure.
Great, job done. I'll hold you to that as well.
I hope you do. We'll have you set up, but you're going to have to do some public speaking for us.
That's okay. That's okay. That's a
There you
fair
go.
exchange.
There, you just saw it, our viewers. We just made a verbal contract. You just saw
There
that
you go.
live.
Yeah. Legally binding as well.
So we everyone in the private sector, we all have our own opinions of how the governing bodies are managing this pandemic, or how they did it pre-COVID and how they're going post-COVID. So are tourism associations and destinations still fixated on numbers? Is it right to judge our tourism success purely on the number of tourists? Is this the right model to move forward?
Look, it's definitely not. But it's a great question. I think they are still judging it on numbers, and I think that's a worry, because really numbers is too easy. I saw a great podcast actually recently. This you've had him on the show, Klaus.
Yes.
Klaus Rasted.
Yeah.
Fantastic guy, good friend of mine as well. He did 100 keynotes in 100 days there on LinkedIn. And by the way, anybody out there, I encourage you to have a look at them. They're fantastic. But there was one where he was talking about numbers and our fixation with numbers. And it kind of struck me as I was listening to it, we are too fixated on numbers. And everything now is about, well, what's the metrics? What's the data telling us? And the data is always the easy stuff to measure, really. So, if we're talking about podcasts, so I'll talk about my, I got 20,000 listeners on the Low Season Traveler Insider Guides podcast. And it sounds great, and I use it all the time. However, the 20,000, actually, that's just a bit of flattery. That's ego. I mean, really, It's just ego. I'm more interested in, there's 150 of them, small number, 150 of them. They're really active and really engaged.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing this for. It's for those 150, because if I get through to those 150, and hopefully you get more of those 150, that's what it's all about. So it's about that quality over quantity, but we still focus on numbers because it's just easy. It's just easy to manage. So when we're talking in tourism terms, it's easy to get a number as to how many tourists it is. So if we want to talk about the success of my destination, I had, an extra 20 million visitors last year, or 2 million visitors. It's an easy measuring stick. Is it the right one? I don't think it is. I've spoken to Carolyn and Chris about this recently as well. And, we've all been saying, I think, again, the new future is for tourism destinations, small private sector. We need to start looking at a different measure rather than just numbers, and rather than the wealth of the visitors as well. How caring are the visitors? How responsible are these visitors? What's the type of visitor? We always used to say you want the right type of visitor, and we stand by that. But by the right type, I think these days we're meaning the ones who do believe in responsible practices, in sustainable practices, ethical practices, actually. Good people who are going to care for our destination, for our hotel, for our accommodation, whatever else it is. That's what we want to be attracting. And I think the measurement of that is a little bit harder. It's probably more on surveys and stuff like that. And again, Carolyn would be the one to speak to on that. She's absolutely brilliant with that stuff. But I think we are too fixated on the numbers. And the numbers don't tell the full story. They tell a little bit of a story, but not the full story. They do give a good yardstick. And just on that, I was looking before. So I have I look at the data set by Forward Keys, and they've got brilliant data. They're absolute world beaters. I would encourage anybody to check their website out, forwardkeys.com, or one word. But I was looking at the seat capacity availability into Canada, so international seats into Canada, and I was looking at date range 1st of May to the end of September, so your summer basically is what I'm looking at. In 2019, there was 16.5 million international flight seats going into Canada between the 1st of May and the 30th of September. In 2020, there was 1.7 million on the same months, which is, a massive, massive drop-off. So far, scheduled for 2021, doesn't necessarily mean the flights are going to happen, by the way, because it can get pulled like at an instant. And by the way, more can get added on at an instant. But just to give you a gauge, 8.3 million. So roughly half of the seat capacity of 2019 so far is what's scheduled for 1st of May to the 30th of September 2021. The reason that I say that is, I'm not discounting that. Look, numbers are important. They give us a little bit of a gauge as to what's going on, but they don't tell the full picture. Airlines can go bust. Airlines can pull a flight, like I say, in an instant, and that can go right down. You get a sudden big surge and it can go right down. But it's just to give you a bit of a gauge. At the moment, it's not looking as bad as last year for international visitors to Canada. But I think the overall message is, let's not get too fixated on the numbers. Let's look more about the quality and the qualitative rather than the quantitative when we're looking at data. I think that's important.
Isn't another thing too, when you're looking at any type of data set, when you are on a larger corporate level, not talking about the forward keys, but when a lot of these corporate levels pull in their data sets, it's not just one source. They'll have 4 or 5 that they'll bring them in. There's also the opportunity, based on how their ethical compass is, they can manipulate those numbers. They can put up that you can use those numbers to say whatever message you want to say.
Yeah, you can. So a lot of it is in the interpretation of it. I think, when you look at, like I said, I know the guys at Forward Keys very, very well. So that data actually within the aviation industry, that's standard data. I mean, that what I've given you there is actually, that's raw data. There's no fudging on that. I could have talked about percentage increases, and that would be a different matter.
See, that's exactly it. There, you could.
This is a really important point, actually, because I'm on the new social media. I've been on it all the time. The
TikTok.
No, the voice one, the thingy route. What's it called? Oh my god.
YouTube.
No. Oh my gosh, some viewers out there are just shouting into the camera. It's just audio. Clubhouse.
Oh, Clubhouse. Yes.
So I've been on Clubhouse quite a lot in the travel industry talk sections, and everybody's speaking to so this is in the UK travel industry primarily, and they're talking about hey, okay, we're going to speak to such and such from this big tour operator. How are the bookings looking this year? Actually, we're seeing a 20% increase on last year. And I'm there saying, so what? You were doing nothing last year. You were doing nothing. You could tell me that you're 800% up year on year, and that might mean you've got 8 passengers. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And it's what's really intriguing is, and a lot of companies are struggling with this, the data companies, is everything's always based, because usually you don't give exacts like I've given you there on seat capacity.
Exactly.
You will say it's a percentage above or below, because you don't want to give the sample size, because all data is a sample size. That, by the way, was 100% sample size. But most data, it's a sample, and people don't want to share how big, or in most cases, how small their sample size is. So they'll always say, hey, it's plus or minus year on year. What's intriguing about the current situation in tourism is last year, there's nothing. So therefore, all of a sudden, it's meaningless. So when you're hearing that a big tour operator, a cruise company will come out, the cruise guys have been doing this all year so far, saying we are reporting very healthy figures for the summer season. It's up 200% on last year. And it sounds great. Means absolutely nothing, because year-on-year comparisons in tourism for this year comparing to last year doesn't mean a thing. It tells you nothing. It could be, it could be 800 passengers. It could be 8 passengers, that increase that they're telling you about. It doesn't mean anything. Also, an awful lot last year tried to cancel, couldn't cancel, were told that they would have to rebook for another date. So they rebooked for 2021, and it goes into the figures. I mean, again, it's a false, a false way of reporting. So I think we've got a problem with that.
Yeah, and they're also doing the $1 down to book. They're doing that in some cruise lines. You put $1 down just to get your booking and then pay the balance. That fudges your numbers.
It's crazy. There's an awful lot. There's an awful lot of that going on, and that's why I don't really believe a huge amount of it. I think that's where you have to go for, I guess, qualitative data, where for me it's about speaking to different folk, to yourself and your audience, and then to others on Clubhouse and other contacts that I've got, finding out, just getting a gauge for how it's going. And what I know is the UK travel industry, all the big guys are saying it's all going to happen, this summer's going to be the best summer ever, and it's not. I can tell you now, it's absolutely not, because I'm speaking to all of the people, and on an individual basis, they're telling me it's not looking good at all. Yes, better than last year, but that doesn't tell you anything.
So that's a good segue. So what is the situation in the UK and Europe right now regarding domestic and international travel? Where are you guys sitting?
Wow. Well, it's been an interesting start to the year. So look, from a UK point of view, God, you're forcing me into a position where I have to compliment our government, and really, I so don't want to do that because there is so much of this they have got wrong. You know, we are a small group of islands in the North Atlantic. If ever there is from a geographical point of view and a physical point of view, an ability to be able to keep out any form of disease, if you're an island, that should be the easiest thing in the world to do. You know, we screwed up. We didn't close our borders quick enough. You know, you look at Australia and New Zealand, you know, hard, but they got it right. You know, that's what you have to do.
They did.
Your advantage is, if you're an island, is you close off the air and the sea, and that's it. Job done. Yeah. Job done. Deal then with what you've already got there, and then once you've dealt with that, your job is done, and then you can slowly get to vaccinate people and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know for international tourism it's horrendous, but, you know, at least you're looking after your own population. We screwed up. We didn't shut down the air borders quick enough. We still have we still have flights going in and out of the country. Yes, there is quarantine now, thank God. But on the vaccine side of things, they've done really well. They got a load of the AstraZeneca. It's being distributed really well. They're now in the 40 to 50-year-old category. We've given at least one shot to over half the population, and things are looking good. What the UK government also did, after a lot of pressure in about March time, maybe middle of March, is the opposition was pushing them, saying, look, you might not have all the answers now, but just give us a framework for roughly when things are going to start to change. And what they did is again, I hate complimenting them on it. Really, I really do, because they have screwed up on so much. But it was a good job. What they did is they said, look, okay, by the 31st of March, that is the earliest possible date when two people can meet up outside. By the 15th of April, that's the earliest possible date that we'll allow outdoor sports to start. And by the way, all of those did actually happen on those dates, but they were just saying it's the earliest possible. We have to monitor the situation. Mm-hmm. So at the moment, we've got a situation where, we can go out. We're now told that, I think it's don't quote me on it, I think it's about the 12th of May is the earliest possible date that restaurants and pubs can open indoors for meals and everything else. So that's good. So we're working our way through this easing, which is great. We've been told from a travel point of view, the earliest possible time for international travel to be allowed again, because that's currently banned, apart from essential travel, is the 17th of May. So
wow.
So the next question then logically is, for the travel industry, is great. What does that mean? Where's going to be open? Where can we send people? Can we sell holidays to Spain? Can we sell holidays to wherever? And the same then for the inbound stuff. And what they've said is, look, there's going to be a traffic light system in place where you're going to have red is we're not going to, you can't travel there, and we're not going to allow people in from there. Amber is, we'll let certain people back into the UK if they've been there, but you're going to have to quarantine guaranteed for 2 weeks at a cost of $2,000.
Oh, wow.
Green will be that you can, this is all, by the way, this is just guesswork. We don't know. Green will be, you can travel there and you can come back and maybe you don't have to quarantine. A lot of it is going to hang on testing. No matter what, you're going to have tests on the way out and on the way back. So the big discussion at the moment in the Europe and in the UK as well, as part of that, is it's all about testing. Because at the moment, the tests that we accept, there's rapid flow tests, which, take, 5 minutes. And they only cost about £20, which is great. So we're doing those all the time anyway. But then you have the PCR tests, which are a lot more accurate, but they cost £120 on average per test. Mm-hmm. So if you have to test, as is the case at the moment, if you have to test before you get to a destination, say in Europe or Canada or wherever, and you've got a family of 4, basically it's £500 for that family of 4 to test before you go. And then the UK will say, but you have to be tested before you get back into the UK. So you have to then spend another £500 testing on the way. So £1,000 added to the cost of your holiday. Now, if you're going to Canada on a big all singing, all dancing holiday, that's fine. If you're going to Spain for a week, it kind of adds a big barrier to your travel. So there's a lot of pressure at the moment in Europe to bring the cost of tests down. A lot of the hospitality industry in and around Europe that wants to welcome the Brits, for example, and other nationalities, are saying we'll actually arrange the tests for you and we'll cover the cost of the tests. which is smart, actually. That's a very smart move.
Mhm.
So you've got that side of it, and then you've just got the, excuse my language, you've just got the sheer ball ache of doing it. You know, I have to book in. So I'm traveling out to Tenerife later on this month around that time, and I have to book in to travel. So you have to do your PCR test. It takes 24 hours to get the results. So I have to book in and get a negative test within 72 hours of arriving in that destination. And then the
Wow.
same on the way back. So you have to, timing it logistically is just so challenging. And it's just a big ball ache. And there's a part of me that thinks, if it wasn't for work, I just wouldn't bother. I'd just stay in the UK and just go on holiday somewhere around here. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's what, but again, I think that's what the British government wants. And I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but, you know, then you're going to be spending your money in the UK or in Canada. You're going to get more tax dollars and everything else, and everybody benefits. And
Yeah.
it keeps a lot of the tourism businesses in the UK off the government's back from complaining about anything. And it could be the same in Canada. You know, if the government's been hit hard by all the private sector, one way to shut them up will be, you know, we're going to make it so that all Canadians basically need to travel within Canada this summer for their vacation. And then that way, all of the Canadian tourism businesses are going to do pretty well from the domestic market.
So I really enjoyed our talk as usual. We got to do this more often, maybe not on the show, but just connect online and share. But before we let you go there, Mr. Jed Brown of Low Season Traveler, who's also on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, which we have been sharing with you, please follow our friend Jed. He is always putting up high quality content. Not only on the Low Season Traveler phenomenon that he is leading the way on, but also on tourism and trending and analytics. So by all means, please follow Mr. Jed Brown on his social media. But before we let you go there, big guy, is there anything else you would like to share with our audience that we haven't covered tonight before we let you go?
Do you know, not really. The only thing I want to say is, you know, we alluded to it before, Gug, is it's never been a better time to be small. Small today is truly, truly mighty and powerful. And I think, you know, we all need to have the courage of our convictions on that and to believe in that. You know, like we said before, you know, 30 years ago, we didn't have any of this stuff available to us. We've got it all at our fingertips. We absolutely can compete. We need to stick together. You know, we need to collaborate and work closer with each other. But for me, it's a golden opportunity. The name of the game this year, like last year, I'm afraid to tell you, is just survival. It's not about profits. It's not about greed or any of that kind of stuff. This is just about survival. But know this, you know, that the tide is going to come in. And when it comes in, it's going to come in with quite a rush. So we just need to hang in there long enough. But, you know, my overall message is please do hang in there long enough, because honestly, we're going to be able to do some great stuff. Just think about cool content that you can start doing. Start thinking about, you know, that sustainability piece that you want to put on your website and really hammer home about that. That's going to really matter when things start to turn for the good. So start working on that stuff that's usually it's a bit of a ball ache and you're too busy to do it. But now you've got time. Honestly, you know, do it. Start doing content. Start your own podcast. Start anything like that. Don't be afraid of failing, because, you know, right now we're all failing, and you know, that's just the norm, and you only learn by failing. So let's all just, you know, give it a lash, and do the very best that we can. And finally, just, you know, to wish all of your audience all the very best. I know it's really tough, and I know it's a tough situation in Canada as it is in elsewhere in the world. But you know, life, I have learned over my 50 years, it's a series of peaks and troughs and peaks and troughs. And the key is we don't always know when we're in that trough. We don't know, only with hindsight, that actually there was a big high just around the corner. That high, it is just around the corner. And by the way, if there's anybody out there that is on a high, believe me, there's a low around the corner as well. That's just the way it goes. I say to my daughters all the time, just cut the middle path. Don't get carried away with big fancy successes. Yeah, just keep your head down and keep marching on. If times are really bad, don't get carried away and depressed either. Just take the middle ground and just keep marching on. And that's my advice for everybody. But I wish everybody, all of your listeners and your viewers, all the very best. And hey, if anybody wants to connect, then obviously feel free to reach out. And overall, it's just been an absolute pleasure chewing the fat with you, as always, Gug. Really enjoy it. Really enjoy it, mate.
I'm telling you, and I'll tell our viewers right now, Mr. Jed Brown has never looked more dashing and more beautiful in our eyes than he does right now with that headwear he's wearing. I'm
I
telling
love
you.
it. I love it. Thank you so much. And actually, the sun's shining now, so I actually need a baseball cap.
Excellent. Okay, Jed. Well, thank you very much for being on the show, and we will talk soon, I am sure. But thank you again for being here, and all the best to you, your viewers, Low Season Traveler, and to all of your partners in private tourism, as you have mentioned here, Caroline and Chris and Nigel, of course, and you've got a whole bunch there that are working behind you. And all the best to you guys, and we'll see you on the other side of that rainbow where that pot of gold is when we all come out of this.
We'll be there. Thanks a million, Cook. All the best, everyone.
Take care.
That was
you to our
awesome.
guest. Wasn't that awesome?
That was super. I mean, beside his headgear and his perfect attire for the show, I mean, he hit it on the nose there. But the information, I mean, he's a brilliant man. He's like you say, the professor of seasonology.
I couldn't think of a better word than calling Mr. Jed Brown our professor on Low Season Traveler, majoring in seasonology. I mean, that is pretty much it. The guy's brilliant. He's such a good character. He's got good character, and I'm proud to say that we are friends, both me and you, with him.
We got to keep him to his word. We got to get him over here.
Hey, and, man, he can have any coach that we have.
Yeah, for sure. We got a tent in the backyard. I mean, that'd probably be half the experience, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Awesome.
So you know what? He really delivered, and he sure did look dapper in that ehCanada cap. He looked almost Canadian, until he opened his mouth.
It's the accent that threw it off.
It threw it off.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't mean anything though. Canadians are all types and from everywhere. So
yep, exactly.
He's definitely an honorary.
We just have a little bit more inside information on the guy.
Some good dirt. Yeah. No, so that was totally awesome.
Yeah. So during the show, we posted Mr. Jed Brown, Low Season Traveler, all his social media, his website, his email. We encourage you to connect with this guy. He's always open to conversation. Pick his brain and get to know him. And you never know what transpires down the road. I really hope you had all your pen and paper going crazy writing down this information. By all means, we've got his website under his name right on the screen, so you can copy that. We're pretty stoked. We've had Jed on for 2, and you know what, Call? I'm feeling there's a 3rd episode coming down the pipe.
Oh, at least. At least.
So thank you everyone for joining us tonight for our discussion on Low Season Traveler and over tourism with Mr. Jed Brown. We are your co-host of the ehTravel Talk Show, Colin and Greg Gerard, aka the Bros of Tourism. Tomorrow, you'll find this interview of Jed on our award-winning website. You'll also find it on all our social media feeds, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and Tumblr. And also we will be posting it on our LinkedIn pages. Please support Canada tourism businesses by planning and booking, contributing to our ehCanada Travel website. If you own a business, right, Call, they should be signing up right now, right?
They should be signing up. It doesn't take long, and we got plenty of travelers planning their trips coming to our site, and they need a place to book. So wherever you are, sign up now. It doesn't cost anything, and entry level that is, and it links back to your website and etc. It just opens up a plethora of opportunities for you to promote your business in Canada.
Was that plethora?
A plethora, a cornucopia of opportunities to promote your business.
Holy mackerel.
A buffet.
Hey, go get my real brother. So it's important that you book local tourism business websites or Canadian websites like ourselves, which direct the people to the best source of information, which is the actual business website. We urge, this is our message, everybody, when we have your attention. And this is an important message. And we're going to say this on every episode, I think, for a while now. We urge you to stop sending 13 and 18% of your Canadian booking dollars to out-of-country head offices. Every time you book online with corporate OTAs like Booking, Expedia, and Hotel, every time you book with those corporates, you are helping rich billionaires buy more yachts, vacation cottages, and private islands. You need Canadians to book and plan local directly with the tourism
Yes.
websites so they can reinvest that 13 and 18% back into your communities and in Canada. This 13, 18% over a year's time adds to tens and tens of thousands of dollars. It buys the new uniforms for your child's baseball team. It sponsors your local events. That commission dollar puts food on the tables of hard-working Canadian families in this struggling tourism industry. There is no more of a more important time than to start booking through Canadian websites and bypassing OTAs. And we encourage you to do this. Where you book does make a difference in Canadian lives. Please book direct. Okay, Junior, I think the show is going to go all yours now. It's all yours, buddy.
Oh my. Oh, well, I get to announce next week's guest. We have Doreen Pendergrax. She is a chocolate adventurist, advocate, and curator, and also a writer of non-fictional books. She's recently released The Chocolate Tour. You'll want to check that out on her website, chocolatetour.net. And she's the queen of the world's best quest for the world's best chocolate is the book. So we'll have her in next week. Check out her website and stay tuned. 7 o'clock Tuesday. Be there.